So that's first and foremost, which is kind of a basis, doesn't matter what industry you're in. I mean, that's very relevant, especially if you're working cross-channel. That's one. Two is we've implemented robust yet simple measures to kind of create downstream simplicity. So what I mean by that is I'll take the middle process as an example, right? So we have access and permission controls for all of our features. And beyond that is you can limit the product visibility to specific, I'll call it workflow or responsibilities for specific end users. So for example, you could onboard whoever you want responsible for a submittal and allow them access and visibility literally and only to what they've been assigned to or signed for, right? So that's to say, and that functionality works across all of our products, whether it's all of our features, sorry, whether it's a project budget, a payment app, a submittal, a punch list, whatever it may be. So that's to say, if the end user is on a job site and not sitting by a computer, who then could kind of navigate a full end-to-end product, well, that person, that end user on the job site, is literally only seeing the submittal and punch list that is relevant to them. So that's a way that we're looking to address the existing friction.
I think it's great, and I think it sounds wonderful.
Yeah.
You've definitely taken on a bit of a leadership role across the industry, trying to support the industry.
Mhm.
But from a leadership perspective, either your own experience or what you've worked with, what drives those initiatives? And I mean, obviously, you are very versed on your product and what you are selling. But if somebody else is considering other options or other ideas of how to make improvements and leverage technology, what advice would you have for them from a leadership role?
Definitely. I think that this is actually again like similar to kind of any industry, and I would suggest that you take your leader and your champion as we call it, and that's to say that whatever relevant leadership in the company needs to be on board and understanding of how a technology can help them. So as an example, I'll use, our own product is, it could be a budget report, it could be a forecasting report, it could be a consolidated payment application for them to review, right? So that's on their end for their understanding of what works. Now on the operator end, I mean, we could pull from the examples that I just gave in terms of simplicity. We could understand that it consolidates their efforts, right? So that's support on what they're doing. And now it's the matter of kind of combining both of those outlooks and making sure that they understand that, support individually for their roles is also supporting their collective, managerial experience or collective, responsibilities. And then beyond that stage, I would say, yeah, let's back to kind of what I was alluding to before is, yeah, let's start simple. Let's start easy, right? Let's start with one project. Let's start with one region, just depending on the structure. So those are the elements I'd say is to find improve ways that your product or service will support leadership, find ways your product and service will support the operators, then combine the two and start simple.
I mean, simplicity is, and it goes back to, like you said, your user interface. It can't be, the work that we do in engineering and construction is not simple per se. It's not
Right.
overly hard. If you think about it logically, it's you're putting things together to finish a product, and it's just like going through the Lego set when you were a kid
Right.
that had 73 steps. Like, you finish it, you're just building on each previous step.
Mhm.
And we don't think about it as that simple a lot of times, even though it
Right.
really is. I mean, I've done talks and I've worked with people on stormwater, and they're like, stormwater is so complicated, it's so hard, and I don't understand this. And I'm like, stormwater is two things: slow it down and clean it on the way. Like,
Totally.
fundamentally, that's it. How we
Mhm.
execute that is exceptionally hard. But fundamentally, all stormwater design is slow it down and clean it on the way so that you're not polluting the downstream properties and creating erosion and things like that. But the execution is not that simple sometimes.
Definitely. It's a great analogy. And just to even, double down on that is to say, even if you want to believe, and even if it is the case where, the execution is complicated, or even the steps before it are complicated, well, let's support your complications with simplicity, right? With technology, which is what it's supposed to do, right? Tech is supposed to simplify your life, like a smartphone, for example, right?
So technology has evolved and it's evolving rapidly.
Hmm.
We're in the spring of 2023. We're just coming out of whatever you want to call the past 3 years. Uh, I question what the industry would look like if this happened 20 years ago.
Hmm.
Because when I came into the industry, it took hours to get a print set. It
Hmm.
took just because the technology wasn't there. But
Hmm.
even the meetings and the technological advances that happened over the past 3 years in the workforce and the hybrid or remote work or telework and all of those different things that have been affected, whether we like it or not. But how do you see like technology of the future, and
Hmm.
where do you see some of this going? Maybe from the digital transformation that with AI and other aspects, like uh, I don't want to say people are going to be out of jobs, but I feel like those not so hard things will be done by computers at some point. But that's my opinion. But I'd be curious what your opinion is.
Definitely, yeah, definitely. A hot topic I think for all industries also, right? So the way I kind of see it is again recognition of kind of the difference that is construction and development, where you have to transfer design, so paper or whatever files into tangible items. So that exists, and the cross collaboration exists too. And I bring up those points because it's interesting to kind of perceive a future of this AI tech robotics without the necessity of people, because it's going across companies, right? So maybe if you had a completely internal vertical team from develop construction through development, et cetera, where you're literally one company and you could centralize all of those AI tech functions, then maybe there's kind of that future where you're really leveraging technology. Um, Otherwise, I'll kind of go into where I believe the industry will go. I think first and foremost, there needs to be a standardization or at a minimum expectation that everybody's using a management product, right? So when you go to start a job, you should expect that there's going to be a command center where everyone is going to communicate from, and that's going to be pulling data into, right? So that would be step one. Step two from that, what I can see is there's a lot of specific technologies that support a lot of specific functions that could integrate into that command center technology and then disperse to everyone else. So, for example, it could be, let's say, safety technology, it could be ESG technologies, it could be, um, really robust kind of scheduling, understanding. So, just a few examples of many. So that's how I see the industry going, right? Is that you go onto a project, a job site, there's that command center, that's just their standard. From there, each company could be leveraging their own tools. So that's all to say that I think efficiency will increase a lot, and maybe a single individual will be able to do more. I mean, that should be the case. Um, if they're leveraging technology. However, I can't see it being completely replaced by robots. That's me at least. I think modular is a more of a direction that the industry could go.
No, I think that's great. That's great advice. I mean, every time I have conversations on this topic or a lot of topics, like my head is spinning right now, and I'm sure our listeners are too, with ideas and thoughts about what and where and how and when and all those different aspects of
Hmm.
trying to forecast, and it's virtually impossible to forecast exactly where we're going and what we're doing. But I just want to take a step back, because we
Hmm.
like to include in all of our episodes what we call the power of experience segment. So some piece of advice, it can be completely unrelated to what we've talked about today, or something that you may want to pass along to the listener whose head may or may not be spinning right now, to
Hmm.
that they can take away from the episode, something that you want to pay forward, basically.
Absolutely. So something that I'm pushing to everybody I know is to get on LinkedIn, right? And that's actually how we connected. So the power of LinkedIn, the power of creating your relevant network, learning from individuals that may be ahead of you, maybe in the same stage of you, uh, I think is truly a powerful tool to kind of jumpstart your career or to push your career forward to allow you to learn where in that industry you want to end up, where you want to go. So I really recommend LinkedIn. If somebody told me that a bit earlier, I would have been 100% involved at an earlier stage. So that's my piece of advice for sure.
It's great advice, great insight into the industry, the things that
Mhm.
you're doing, and what is the best way for somebody to connect with you? Should they want to get in touch or learn more about what Jet's doing, or just keep up with you?
Definitely, LinkedIn. That's my answer. Yeah, yeah. Started to become very active on it, taking my own advice. So yeah, please find me on LinkedIn, reach out. I'd be happy to hear from you.
All right. Well, thank you for your time. Please remember that you can find the show notes for this show and all episodes at engineeringqualitycontrol.com. There you'll find a summary of the key points that we've discussed, along with links to both Jet and Adam's LinkedIn. Until next time, friends, I wish you the best in all of your engineering endeavors.